World Championships from Cairo. And interestingly, we have the first match being two Koreans against each other and the second match being two Americans, which means that each one of these nationalities gets at least a silver medal. So whoever loses this match gets a bronze medal, and whoever loses the next match gets a bronze medal. So in fencing, we give out, in individual competition, we give out 2 third places. So that means you get a gold and a silver and then 2 bronzes. So the loser of both these semifinal matches each gets a bronze medal. That's not true in team, it's true in individual. And at the Olympics, it's a little bit different again because we fence off for the 3rd place. But in our world competition, we give out 2 bronze medals.
So we've got the number 17 seed on the right with Mr. An, number 12th seed with Mr. Lee. We've had a chance to watch Mr. An. He was on the blue piece, so we've seen a lot of him today. He beat Mr. Prozorov, Russia, 15-9 in the 32. Then he beat the number 1 seed, Mr. Uliga from Russia, 15-10 in the round of 16. And then he took out Mr. Pozosov, Poland, 15-6 in the 8th, in the tableau of 8 to get here. He has had very good success. None of his opponents have scored over 10 touches against him. His style is he's really a busy presser, happy in close distance, and he's good at close quarters, and he has a very tidy and a very fast hand.
Yeah, just like that parry riposte, he just took that point on it. He's, you know, I mean, these kids know each other well. They're teammates, and so they obviously train together and fence together and have a good idea of, you know, it's interesting because when you have teammates fencing, they don't have to spend that first minute or so doing reconnaissance because they already know what they're up against.
Yeah, they know how to fence each other. Mr. Lee, he beat Mr. Nawar from Netherlands 15-10, Fazikas from Slovakia 15-10, and then Lau from the Virgin Islands 15-8. So neither one of these athletes have had an opponent that scored over 10 touches against them.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, they probably have a pretty good idea of what they're up against with each other.
Oh yeah, I mean they've been warming up, practicing together. I'm sure in Korea they have a very solid national program and a sports center.
Very disciplined program.
Very disciplined, so they train together as well. I think what I'm really looking to see is the difference in, I mean, we talk about how fast the Koreans are, and it'll be interesting to see how fast they are against each other. And that attack was quite speedy.
And these are the cadets, so they're the younger of the junior and cadet, right? So the cadets are typically, I mean, the ones who you're going to see fencing here are typically in the 15, 16-year-old range.
17 and under.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to see a lot of them in that 16. I mean, you're not going to see too much younger than that. But you know, then the juniors are older, up to sometimes you'll see up to a 20-year-old. But you know, here at this level, they've already been fencing this for, you know, a few years in this category. So. But we also see cadets who are fencing in the juniors.
Sion making a nice pair of reposts to bring it back to 4-5.
And the format here at the World Championships is we have 9 days of competition, 18 events. There's 3 weapons in fencing, foil, epee, and saber, and we group them so that we had 3 days of saber already, the cadet, the junior, and the junior team. Now this is the 2nd day of competition for foil, where we have junior yesterday, cadet today, and team tomorrow. And then we do the same thing with epee for 3 days.
So nice opposition pair repost from Mr. Han, tying up the score at 5-5. Another 36 seconds left in this first period. Not like we've seen some of the other matches where they've been able to get high scores in that first round to the point where they could almost finish it in one period.
Right. And when and typically in fencing, when you have two opponents from the same country, they will not have a coach watching them on the piste and helping them. So, so the interesting thing is during the break,
Nice attack.
they won't be getting any advice.
Direct attack by On. He completely turned this around from a 4-0 deficit. They elect to let the time run out as opposed to engaging again.
Now they're in a 1-minute break. First of two. Of course, there are three-minute periods in fencing if you go all the way to the full time.
We'll see it 2-1, where Mr. Lee is able to start building up a nice lead. Comes back again. Gets it to 4-0, and then looks like Mr. On decided to wake up.
And sometimes that's the way it is in fencing. Sometimes it takes getting a few touches against you before you realize.
It was actually 5-1 before he put this run of 4 or 5 touches. So he just scored 5 straight touches in that last end of last period.
And of course, these boys have been fencing all day. I mean, with fencing, you start in the morning and you start with the pools. Well, the pools here were yesterday. No, they weren't. Oh, they. They went this morning.
The cadets are
That's right.
all in one day. Every event is a one-day event, starting in the morning, finishing with a final.
Right. I'm thinking seniors.
Well, the World Cup format is quite a bit different.
Yeah.
The Senior World Championships are actually done the same way.
Nonetheless, the point stands. It's a lot of fencing in one day.
A lot of fencing.
So,
Mr. Lee comes back.
And you got to keep these kids hydrated. You got to keep them from getting cramps. Last thing you want to get is get into a gold medal match and have a leg cramp.
Yeah, we've seen that before. I still recall Kenji Bravo ridiculously cramping. Went on to win the Cadet World Championships, but it took a lot out of him.
It's been warm here in Cairo. It's been in the, upper. Well, it would be a hot summer for me. So let's take a look at the video. This is what the referee is seeing here. He's reviewing that. We can look at the slow motion action here.
Well,
what do you see there, Don?
I see Mr. Lee trying to pick up the blade a number of times, and then Mr. On coming out. So, but this is going to be the referee's call. They have a much better. Yep. So he said he made the attack with a prise or a beat on the blade, and then he made a repose, which was correct. Tried to do a quick stop thrust. Ooh, we've seen that action before.
So, interesting. He
takes a nice preem and then comes right over the back.
He took a pretty big deficit and turned it right around, didn't he?
And then he does it again. Pretty pair of repos. He went over the back one time, then he goes underneath the second time. Both extremely difficult actions to make.
And especially you have to have a lot of control because you don't want to get carded for turning your back, which was.
Yeah, he's not turning his back.
But he was pivoting, and it looks almost like he's doing that. So, there's a fine line there. It takes a lot of practice and control to do that.
Absolutely. Straight attack. Mr. On is showing what he's shown on every bout we've had a chance to watch, that ability to turn on speed. And his defense is extremely strong, but he's also extremely good on his offense.
And that distance.
That distance, yeah. allowed his opponent to come in, see if he could catch him. Missed the first, as they said, the remise of the attack. So the first attack that was not the one that arrived. Takes over again before Mr. Lee can make a pair of repos. And now he's going for the classic, I'm down a lot of touches. I need to change my blade because maybe that can give me a little bit more help.
You know, we were joking and talking earlier about fencers and distance, you know. We're all having to practice social distancing with the pandemic right now, and what have coaches been telling fencers for many eons, which is keep your distance.
Yeah.
And so now they're telling them not only for fencing, but when they're off the piste as well.
Fencing distance, social distance. Little different distance. That touch will not score. Mr. Rios says that they've crossed. Stops the action. Oh, Lee's
Nice
just not.
touch.
I feel him, but his blade went flat. He was right there. Should have been able to hit. Had done everything correctly, just couldn't put his point on.
Right.
So if you ask me what I think is going to happen, I think Mr. On's going to advance to the gold medal match.
Don, never known you to be one to take a risky bet.
And there is what you've been looking for, the turning of the back. He just got the yellow card for it.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing Mr. On has to do now is just not relax so much. You can see he's very relaxed, very confident in his lead. Oh, shoot.
Nice fast attack to win. That puts Mr. On into the gold medal match, where he will face one of the Americans coming up next.
What has really impressed me is the way he can take a parry or freeze, depending on if it's offensive or defense, and just come straight over on the back and hit so accurately.
Yeah, it's definitely a practiced move. And now coming on the final strip for the second semifinal of men's cadet foil are Daniel Zhang and Chase Emmer of the United States. And Don, because you are so intimately involved with the U.S. team, you must know these kids pretty well.
Well, Chase Emmer I know extremely well. He's been on cadet teams in the past. Actually, his first cousin, Xander Rhodes, is also a fencer, and she fenced yesterday. So we expect Chase to be good. Daniel, I don't know as well, but he's actually seated number 16th, right? I mean number 6, and had a pretty clean run up until his last bout against Bogdan